This is Cristiano Ronaldo, one of the most decorated footballer in the history of the game. 5 Ballon d'Ors, 5 Champions Leagues, 4 European Golden Boots, league titles in 4 different countries, all-time Euros and Real Madrid top scorer, 146 international goals, numbers so absurd they don't feel real. And yet, the world has spent the last 5 years watching him fall. Benched, criticized, mocked, dismissed, left on the pitch alone in tears. But to understand the downfall, you have to understand where it all began. Because no one in history has ever fallen from that high. This is the full story. The rise, the peak, and the painful, complicated truth of what happened after. Funchal, Madeira, a small volcanic island off the coast of Portugal, beautiful from the outside, much harder from within. In 1985, in a tin-roofed house in the working-class district of Santo Antonio, Cristiano Ronaldo dos Santos Aveiro was born, the 4th and youngest child of a family that had almost nothing. His mother, Dolores, worked as a cook and a cleaning woman. Long hours, multiple jobs, doing whatever it took to keep 4 children fed. His father, Jose, was a municipal gardener and a part-time kit man for a local football club, a man who loved football, who introduced his son to the game, and who was slowly being destroyed by alcoholism. The family was so poor that Ronaldo and his siblings shared a single bedroom. Food was not always guaranteed. He has spoken of knocking on the back door of a McDonald's near the stadium as a child, asking if there were any leftover burgers they could have. His mother would later reveal that she had considered terminating her pregnancy with Cristiano due to poverty, his father's drinking, and having too many children to feed. She ultimately did not. The world should be very glad she didn't. From the age of 7, Ronaldo was obsessed with football. Not interested, not passionate, obsessed. He cried when his teammates missed chances. He tied weights to his ankles at night and practiced dribbling in the dark. While other children slept, he was working. At 12 years old, Sporting CP spotted him. They signed him for the equivalent of £1,500 and brought him to Lisbon. He left his family. He left his island. He arrived in the capital speaking with a thick Madeiran accent that other kids mocked relentlessly. Most children would have gone home. Ronaldo channeled every bit of that loneliness directly into training. By 16, he was already playing for Sporting's first team. Fast, skillful, and completely unafraid. And then in August 2003, in a pre-season friendly, Sporting CP played Manchester United at the Estadio José Alvalade. What happened that day changed football history. The skinny teenager with the number 28 shirt tore through the United defense repeatedly. He was electric. He was unstoppable. He was 16 years old, and he made some of the best players in England look like they were standing still. At halftime, United's senior players went to Sir Alex Ferguson and told him, "Get this boy. Now, before anyone else does." Ferguson paid £12 million, a world record for a teenager at the time. The boy from the tin-roofed house in Madeira walked into Old Trafford. What he walked out with, nobody could have predicted. Manchester United, 2003. Cristiano Ronaldo number 7, the shirt of Cantona, of Best, of Beckham. He wore it like he was born for it. And he drove everyone around him absolutely mad. The early Ronaldo was a show. Step-overs, flicks, tricks, rainbow kicks. The crowd loved it. The opposition hated it. And his own teammates, particularly one, had serious problems with it. Roy Keane, the most demanding captain in Premier League history, a man who had zero tolerance for selfishness, for wasted time, for skill without purpose. Keane famously pushed the young Ronaldo hard about crossing the ball instead of holding it and showing off. He was direct. He was relentless. He expected results, not entertainment. Years later, Ronaldo called Roy Keane the best captain he ever played under. He said, and I quote, "My best captain ever." Not despite the pressure, because of it. Under Sir Alex Ferguson's guidance, Ronaldo began to transform. The tricks stayed, but they became weapons, not performances. The pace was harnessed. The heading was developed. The free kicks refined. The body rebuilt into something machine-like. Teammates at training sessions would arrive early for morning sessions and find Ronaldo already soaking with sweat from an hour of solo work he had started before anyone else arrived. Not once. Constantly. Obsessively. And then came 2007 to 2008. The season where everything clicked. 42 goals across all competitions. 31 Premier League goals. The Golden Boot. Manchester United won the Premier League. Then the Champions League, beating Chelsea on penalties in a rain-soaked final in Moscow. Ronaldo missed his penalty in the shootout and still ended the season as the best player in the world. He won 6 individual awards that season, including the Ballon d'Or, given to the best footballer on the planet. The boy who knocked on McDonald's back doors for leftover burgers was 23 years old and the best footballer alive. Real Madrid had been watching, and they were about to change everything. 2009. Real Madrid paid £80 million for Cristiano Ronaldo, a world record at the time. 80,000 fans filled the Santiago Bernabeu stadium just to watch him walk onto the pitch in a white shirt. He had arrived at the most famous club in the world, and he walked into the most difficult era in their recent history. Pep Guardiola was rebuilding Barcelona. Lionel Messi was becoming Lionel Messi. And Real Madrid had not reached the Champions League semi-finals for years. The pressure was enormous, and then the media found its narrative, the greatest story in football, hero versus villain. Messi, humble, quiet, shy, small, the kid from Rosario who let his football do everything. Ronaldo, loud, confident, emotional, physical. The man from Madeira who wore his desire on his face like war paint. In post-match conferences, Ronaldo was direct about his performances, about his ambitions, about wanting to win. The media called it arrogance. They called him selfish. They built a character, the villain, and they cast him in it for a decade. But let us look at what actually happened in that era. Real Madrid finished the 2011 to 2012 La Liga season with 100 points. 100. The first team in La Liga history to reach that number. They won the title by 9 points. Ronaldo scored 50 goals in a single season. Barcelona, Pep Guardiola's Barcelona, possibly the greatest club team in history, finished second. And at the end of that season, Guardiola left. He announced he was stepping down. He went to Bayern Munich. The villain drove the hero's manager out of the country. He was never just a villain. He was the best player on the planet sharing a stage with another best player on the planet, and the world needed to pick a side. They picked Messi. That did not stop Ronaldo, not even slightly. 2014. Brazil. The World Cup that Portugal and Ronaldo had been building toward. But something was wrong. In the final weeks of the Real Madrid season, Ronaldo had been suffering with tendinosis in his left knee, a chronic, deeply painful condition caused by long-term wear on the tendon. He played through it. Months of pain, injections, ice packs, training separately from his teammates, and won Real Madrid their 10th Champions League. He flew to Brazil for the World Cup, knowing he was not fully fit. He told the press, "I do not want to use my physical problems as an excuse." And then he went out there and tried to carry Portugal through it anyway. He looked diminished. The electric dribbler who had terrorized defenses for a decade was slower, more cautious, visibly managing his body with every step. Portugal were knocked out in the group stage. Ronaldo scored once, against Ghana. 1 goal in 3 games, against the backdrop of a knee that should have kept him at home. But here is the twist that nobody talks about. That injury, that painful, tournament-ruining, career-threatening injury, was also the best thing that ever happened to Cristiano Ronaldo, because it forced him to evolve. The explosive dribbler who ran at defenders was no longer sustainable. The knee would not allow it. So Ronaldo began to reinvent himself, moving into central positions, cutting inside less, making smarter runs, using his aerial ability, his positioning, his intelligence. He stopped trying to beat 5 players with skill. He started arriving at the exact right moment to score from everywhere. The injury that almost ended him turned him into the most lethal version of himself. What came next was something nobody had ever seen before in history of the Champions League. The noodle-hair Ronaldo, the header merchant, the fox in the box predator who had become the single most feared player in the Europe. Let me give you the numbers, because the numbers are genuinely unprecedented. 67 goals in the Champions League knockout stages, more than any other player in history. 13 goals in Champions League semi-finals, more than any other player ever. And Real Madrid never lost a final in which Ronaldo scored. But forget the numbers for a moment. Let me tell you about the nights. April 2016, quarter-final second leg. Real Madrid versus Wolfsburg. Madrid lost the first leg 2-0 away from home. They needed to turn it around at the Bernabeu. In the second leg, Ronaldo scored a hat-trick. 3 goals against a team that had just beaten them. Game over. Madrid through. That same year, he won Portugal their first ever international trophy, the Euros. He scored a brace against Hungary in a do-or-die game. Then against Wales in semi-final, he scored a towering header. In the final against France, a harsh tackle by Dimitri Payet injured him, and he was forced to leave the pitch on a stretcher with tears in his eyes. But instead of getting treatment on the bench, he's starting coaching the team from the touchline. One of the most iconic moments in history of football. Portugal won the final, and Ronaldo was seen crying with joy. May 2017, semi-final versus Atletico Madrid. Ronaldo scored a hat-trick to put Madrid into the final, his 13th Champions League semi-final goal. No other player had ever scored 10. He had 13. The final against Juventus. Real Madrid 4, Juventus 1. Ronaldo scored 2 and was named man of the match. Then came the three-peat. 3 consecutive Champions League titles. 2016, 17, and 18. Never done before in the modern era of the competition, he was Alexander the Great in football boots, conquering everything in his path. No knockout game too big, no moment too heavy. The bigger the stage, the brighter he burned. And then he made the decision that would change everything. 2018. After completing the three-peat, Cristiano Ronaldo left Real Madrid. There were contract disputes with the president Florentino Perez, disagreements about wages, about respect, about whether the club valued him appropriately. Ronaldo felt they didn't. He signed for Juventus, 100 million euros, the most expensive player in Serie A history. And in isolation, the move made football sense. Juventus were dominant in Italy. They won Serie A every single season. He would win trophies, score goals, and still have the Champions League to conquer in a different jersey. He scored 101 goals in 134 games for Juventus, won Serie A twice, won the Coppa Italia. But the Champions League? Juventus were not Real Madrid. The squad around him was aging. The tactical system did not suit him the way Madrid's did. And every time they reached the knockout stages of the Champions League, they came up short. There was one extraordinary moment. February 2019. The Champions League, last 16. Juventus had lost the first leg at home to Atletico Madrid 2-0, seemingly eliminated. Then in the second leg in Turin, Ronaldo scored a hat-trick, 3 goals. He carried Juventus back from the dead single-handedly. The crowd sang his name. He pointed at himself. "I'm here, this is what I do." But in the next round, Ajax eliminated them. Year after that, Porto again. The team simply was not at the level the Champions League demanded. And Ronaldo left Juventus having won everything except the trophy he had gone there for. Looking back, the mistake was clear. He should never have left Real Madrid. That club, that system, those teammates were the perfect environment for him. He left it for a contract dispute. It was the most expensive decision of his career, and worse was coming. 2021, the return to Manchester United. Old Trafford erupted. A poetic welcome by Peter Drury. CR7 back where it all began. For a brief moment, it felt like magic again. The first season was decent. 18 goals in 30 appearances in Premier League, and 6 goals in 7 Champions League games. Signs of the old Ronaldo when the big games came. And then Erik ten Hag arrived. The Dutch manager had a clear vision for Manchester United. High pressing, high energy, young, mobile players who could cover enormous distances. A system that required every single player, no exceptions, to run back, defend from the front, chase and press without stopping. Ronaldo was 37 years old. His legs were not what they were. His pressing statistics were among the lowest in the squad. Ten Hag made his decision. Ronaldo did not fit the system. He was benched, then dropped. He sat on the sidelines at Old Trafford, and the cameras found him repeatedly, frustrated, isolated, visibly unhappy. The media went into a feeding frenzy. Every touch he made when he came on was analyzed for slowness. Every missed chance was evidence of decline. Every body language moment was dissected. Social media ran clips of him miscontrolling the ball and played them on loops. Pundits who had celebrated him for 20 years suddenly could not stop talking about how he was finished, how he was a problem, how he was holding United back, how the greatest goalscorer in football history should be grateful for a substitute appearance. It was relentless, and it took its toll. Then came the 2022 World Cup in Qatar, Portugal's group stage. Ronaldo scored once, a penalty against Ghana, becoming the first man in history to score at 5 different World Cups. A record that had never been achieved. Historic. But in the final group game against South Korea, he was substituted and reacted with visible frustration on the sideline. Coach Fernando Santos dropped him for the round of 16 match against Switzerland. 21-year-old Ramos replaced him and scored a hat-trick. For the quarterfinal against Morocco, Ronaldo was again on the bench. He came on in the second half. Portugal lost 1-0, and Morocco became the first African nation to reach the World Cup semi-finals. And Cristiano Ronaldo, 37 years old, the greatest scorer in the history of the game, walked off the pitch alone. No teammates immediately beside him, his hand over his face, his shoulders shaking, crying, in public, in front of the world. It was the image the media had been waiting for. The end of Ronaldo. Done. Finished. Retire and disappear. He went to Saudi Arabia to start a new journey. He didn't disappear. Al Nasser, Saudi Arabia, January 2023. The press called it retirement. The pundits called it exile. The social media comments called it the end. Ronaldo called it a new challenge. In his first 2 seasons in Saudi Arabia, he scored 35 goals and then 44 goals. 44 goals in a single season, at 40 years old. Critics said the league was weak. Maybe. But 44 goals is 44 goals. and you do not score 44 goals without turning up every single day. Then in May 2026, just weeks before the World Cup, Ronaldo scored twice to win Al Nassr the Saudi Pro League title, their first in 11 years. He was 41 years old. He stood on the pitch lifting a trophy, weeping with emotion, the crowd singing his name. Retired people do not do that. Then came the 2026 World Cup, his 6th World Cup, a record he shares only with Lionel Messi. Portugal faced DR Congo in their opening game. Ronaldo did not score. The usual voices began. Too old, too slow, should come off the bench. Then against Uzbekistan, he scored twice in a 5-0 win, set a new World Cup record, and told reporters, "I'm back." He scored a goal against in round of 32 against Croatia, but Portugal again fell short, knocked out in the round of 16 by Spain. Ronaldo started. He was criticized for starting. Other Portuguese players who also underperformed were criticized far less. Because the story of Ronaldo's decline is easier to write than the truth, which is that he is 41 years old, still scoring, still starting, still competing at a World Cup when almost every player of his generation retired 5 years ago. He is approaching 1,000 career goals. When he reaches it, he becomes the first player in football history to do so. 1,000 goals in professional football. No one has ever done it. He may never win the World Cup. That trophy, the one that would complete every argument, may never come. But let us be honest about what Cristiano Ronaldo is. A boy who grew up with no money, no guarantee of food, an alcoholic father who never saw him succeed, a mother who almost did not have him, who left his island alone at 12 years old, mocked and homesick, and decided that none of that was going to stop him, who became the best player in the world, who won the Champions League 5 times, who scored in 6 different World Cups, who is still playing football at 41, who is still breaking records. The media made him a villain. His own choices made him vulnerable. The system changed, and he was left behind. The tears came, the criticism came, the loneliness came, and he kept going. There will never be another Cristiano Ronaldo. Not because of the goals, not because of the trophies, because of the hunger. The relentless, lifelong, obsessive hunger that started in a tin-roofed house in Madeira and has never once stopped. Whatever happens next, history will not forget him. The world tried its very hardest to make sure it would. It failed.